Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joy Evans.
And today we're taking a look at Pericle or Pericle or...
Pericle.
It's Pericles.
Yeah, I know. That confused me, typing it up.
Yeah, so anyway, Pericle Gathering Darkness. This is an RPG in a box, or that's what they're claiming.
Right.
But we're talking about it here on the channel because it is essentially a board game, like any other dungeon crawler, with an app.
Right, and it seems to give you more D&D style. Oh, that's what they claim, a more D&D style feel than a normal board game.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at it a little bit. I'm going to show you some of it, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
The game is going to revolve around in the website, the app, but I want to show you what else comes in the box. So you have two different books here. We have the rule book, which explains how to do most of the game, kind of in a very... I wish there was more pictures and things in the book. There's a few pictures like this, but there is tons and tons of just walls of text. And then the Hero's Handbook, which gives you some information on what to do with a hero and tells you all the different special abilities you can get. The game comes with 4 preset heroes and folders in which they have these sheets for the heroes that they start off pretty basic, and then they're going to get more and more complex, so you get to their full sheet. Or you can just make your own character. Have a sheet for everything you want on your character. So I played mostly with the pre-made characters, so I don't have a lot of experience with making your own character up. But this shows a lot of your different skills. And skills are important for lots of tests in this game. You're going to be rolling these special 20-sided dice. And these dice on them are going to have lots of successes. That's this symbol here, although there's always a failure on them. And there's also a success to get another success. Where's the failure? That's a failure. There's also numbers on the die, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the higher your skill is in something when you're trying to do it, like this skill here, if I'm using that, or grapple, or whatever the skill might be, dexterity, if I roll a 3 or less, it's a success. A 4 would be a failure. While here, only the 1 works for me. A 2, 3, or 4 doesn't. A 4 is the best number because then the only thing that fails then is the side that shows the failure on it. There are other dice in the game, defensive dice, which have a block on 50% of them and show a full torch and a lower torch for special effects. You also keep track of your hit points using one of these. And as you're exhausted, hit points move over here. But short rests can bring those back, while taking hit points off completely, it's harder to heal up from those. And that is pretty much the basic stuff in the game. There's extra decks and things you can get. But in the box is really heavy because it has a lot of acrylic characters that you'll be using for the miniatures and stuff. But what it's mostly heavy from is the massive amounts of boards. And there is lots of boards here. Sometimes they go together to make a ship like this, and there's going to be all sorts of different places that you'll go, and you're going to be fighting on these boards. So that's what's in the box. A few other things. Let's take a look at the app. So Pericle is a web app, so you need the website to have it. So if you create a new party here, you can write in your party name. So we'll say, Dice Guys, or just dice, I suppose. Number of characters in the party, you have to play 3 or 4. For the hero name, you can pick, your own name, or you can pick one of the pre-generated heroes, so that, then you're going to need to put in some of these base information, and the sum of initiative bonuses for all characters, and then you start. Now, I will say, I found that starting screen to be a bit more than I expected it to be. I thought there was a lot more going on than I wanted at the beginning. I had to look in the sheets and figure this stuff out. I wish that stuff had just been a little bit more automatic. And then there's like an intro video here. So a lot of the videos are embedded in YouTube. And then you play this.
Burning sunlight, rusted iron shackles that bind your wrists.
And you can click here and you can read it yourself, or you can listen to what they just said. And then you'll continue. And there's a lot of pictures in the game, and a lot of these, they're like paintings. And then a lot of things that you will do here will have you make a test, and so then it tells you what happens. And at the beginning, there's a lot of tutorials. So let's say someone succeeded on this test, And then we wait for the thing to go through. Here it's showing the map of everything. That's kind of cool. And you're going to keep going on. And you're now going to have to fight a troll. So this fighting the troll here that they did, and again, there's like this whole video. The videos, though, are mostly just them showing like a picture.
Feet touch the burning sand. A gate on the far side of the
Oh, fight the troll. So I'll fight the troll. There's the troll. He looks cool. And then there's a whole video here of how to do combat. So I like that a lot. And so this will show you the map setup. So this shows you that we're using the Coliseum map. This shows you the enemy. It shows you where you start, where the enemy starts. You look at any scenario details and you exit setup and you'll begin here. So some of this stuff is done. You'll roll initiative on the app and then it's going to tell you what to do next. So enemies move and it will tell you how the enemies move. And then when the enemies are done, you just click done here at the top. Then the heroes move, and heroes, it tells you how they'll do. The troll moves 4 hexes towards the nearest hero. And then when you're done with that, then it will start doing actions. So for the enemies, it will just tell you what the enemies does. Here the troll moves 4 hexes towards the closest hero. It moves adjacent to a hero. Select the embattled condition on the troll card. And there's different stats that you can give them. Like I might say he's at reach, or he's prone, or he's stunned. And this will keep track of that stuff for you. And you also keep track of the enemy's hit points. As you do attacks to the enemy, it's just going to tell you to go, and you're actually going to do your stuff on the board, not necessarily an app. But when the troll gets to that, it's going to show that he's been defeated, and then blah, blah, blah. When you're done, you hit victory to show that you've won this. And again, this was kind of an example combat. So you can see as scenarios come across, you'll have more people to fight. Like here, I'm fighting 2 spearmen and 2 slingers. And again, the details will tell you what to do and how to this. And then you'll see that all the enemies you fight are listed there. Nope, I do not want to exit gameplay. So I can say, oh, this slinger's taken some hits. This slinger is embattled, or they have the defense die. You can always spend an action just defending yourself. And then, let me show you real quickly for roll initiative. And the enemies won the initiative. And then we'll go done. So the enemies move. And it will tell you exactly how each enemy moves. This slinger doesn't move. This one hesitates, moving 1 hex away from the nearest thing. And then we move. And again, we follow the rules for heroes movement. And then, for action, each person will go separately. So Spearman 1 will go here. And it will tell you what they do. And then after Spearman 1 is done, Spearman 2 is going to go. And so on and so forth. As time goes by, you're going to have different things. So head to the Sea Docks or find a merchant that will sell you survival things. So then it shows you a picture. I can buy weapons. Now this is one thing I don't love about the game. It says browse melee weapons. And when you click this, it brings up a chart like this. I feel like this is not so easy to read, but you can look at that. Or I can go to the Sea Docks. And the game is going to then split up and you can go to various areas. And as you go there, you can choose. Here, I can approach the helots or go to the ships. I made a success. One of the heroes was successful. And I can intervene, create a distraction, observe, but do not intervene. And some things are going to lead you into battle, and some things are going to make you go things. Oh, looks like I just got into a battle here. Oh no, we were captured by the guards. Well, that's not great. I'm going to try a way to break away from the guards and escape. Hey, we all succeeded. And again, I'm kind of speeding through these different things. And now we meet an urchin. And I don't want to spoil more of the game for you, but that is kind of how the game is going to work. Okay, so this game, there's a lot of things to talk about. So I'm going to start out by saying some good stuff.
Okay.
No, I'm serious.
Wow, where are you going to go?
Well, I like the combat system.
All right.
I like the test system. I like the idea of rolling a die that's mostly hits and misses, but has 1 through 4 on it. And that's an easy way to adjust the difficulty of a test. They could even say a test -2, so you subtract 2 from your number. So if you have a 4, you're down 2. It doesn't make tests particularly hard, but I think that it's a fun, easy system. It works in combat pretty well, and then you roll the damage. And by the way, they use great four-sided dice in here.
These, I mean, take note. These D4s are the best on the planet. They really, I mean, you can step on them. They don't kill you, for one. But
They just roll well.
They really do. Now, I do like, it seems like a simplified attack method than like D&D has. You know, but I also
very
like,
much.
but I like the crit. I like the crit die that you switch, rather than having a GM that kind of looks through a table and tells you what the crit does.
Yeah, those GMs, huh? No, so I like that. The only part I don't like about the combat is the defense die.
I knew it.
It seems overpowered. It gets really boring whenever you hit. If someone does defense and they're blocking 50% of the time,
I know.
That just makes fights more boring. They're more drawn out because defense.
I agree. And one thing is, the grapple thing is a couple things with the battle. Number one, I like where you have a bit of an advantage if you go behind the person. I do like that. Grappling, I don't like how they tell you to, the idea of grappling is great, but the whole idea that they want you to lay the acrylics on top of each other, the one time I think I'm going to break the acrylics is when I stick them in and out of that base. And they're asking you to do that over and over. So that makes me nervous. You just lay it down. That's what I do. But the grappling's a big part of it.
Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, you guys can't see this. This box is really heavy.
It is.
It's because those boards are in there.
Yep.
And on one hand, I'm glad that they're boards rather than having to put together a whole bunch of pieces. I'm very happy with that.
But
the boards aren't particularly different, like a ship and I mean, they don't need to be. I could use the same board for multiple things.
Yeah.
But also, the whatever material they made these boards out of, it's just a really heavy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of lies in this project for me. Overall, yes, the project's using an app, or not an app. It's using a web page, and we'll talk more about the app in a bit. It's using that. It's using acrylics,
yes,
and it's using modern D4s.
Right.
Okay, so it has some of these modern things to it. And yet the whole thing feels like it's from the 70s. And maybe part of that's intentional. And I mean that by the story is... It's very generic.
The story is.
And maybe it gets less generic in the campaign part I haven't seen.
Right.
But I went through a good chunk of it. And it's generic. The boards look old. The characters look old. The art that they use in the app looks like old stuff. Now, maybe that's a style they're going for. But, like, this cover here is very indicative.
Vintage.
Of what, vintage is a good word. And not only is that vintage, but, like, the charts they show you for weapons and stuff.
Right.
The rule books look vintage. It just feels old. And that's, for me, that's a bit of a negative. Because I want to see, it doesn't need to be Fantasy Flight or Seamon. They could have went another style, but this old... It just feels a little creaky to me.
I agree. I mean, I think the weight of the box is heavy. I think the size is smaller because they went acrylic over, the actual figures. They could have a smaller box, but that weight, I do wish they would have put books in there. It did something a bit more modern, and the look was better.
like a ring,
A spiral-bound
book,
or two of them to match them up and do that. Should have been where they went. Also, as far as the story is very. It's very generic. I mean, at the beginning, you're just getting there. You're getting to an arena just so you can go through the tutorials. Is pretty much all that beginning
and I don't
is.
mind the tutorials. No. I don't know that I love having to watch a video for every tutorial.
No, that got old. Later, the videos are good. And now, again, if we're talking about the videos, are great if you can cast them to a TV or something.
Yeah, the videos are interesting. I mean, because on one hand, I thought the voice work was good.
Yep.
Like I said, the story is okay. And then just showing me a picture...
right.
Ken Burns in that
Burns
picture.
Effect, yeah.
That's fine. I mean, again, you're like, well, that's what you get in a role-playing game. So if you're going for that idea, because the role-playing person, that's what I do when I run a role-play, I'll show you a picture. So that's that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, this still feels like a board game to me. And the reason for that is because you spend so much time on the map. Yes, you go through and you do some checks and you run into people and you do checks, but... You're like, you fight. In fact, the very first thing you do is fight.
Right.
And then you do a bit more. Then you fight. Then you do a bit more. Then you fight. Then it gets more into the role-playing, and you go around, but guess what? You're going to do lots of fighting. And when you fight, it doesn't feel as much as role-playing games. It feels like a tactical miniatures game.
It is. It's more short stories in between your hex battling. And now one thing I will say is this says D&D. This, for people that can't actually, luckily I do a D&D thing, well, obviously every couple weeks. If I didn't have that ability, and this is your only option, then that's one thing. It isn't as good as a good GM or DM because it can't.
But it's
live
not
with
your
you.
only option. You can play Descent 3rd Edition. You can, in fact, this week we're doing our top 10 dungeon crawls.
Right.
You can play Gloomhaven. You can
Yes.
do a lot of these games. Now, you might argue over the level of story in those games, and this is a higher story level than most of them.
Here's where I'm going to put this. This is probably differs with you a lot. I would put this over Gloomhaven in the fact that as less upkeep, that website or app, it's a website now, but the website takes care of all those monster cards for you. I do like that.
I don't disagree. I think that part's nice. It tells you exactly what the monster does. That's great.
Right. And
Other apps could do that too, though.
they could.
And that website, it feels a little creaky. Pressing the buttons, sometimes
It takes a bit.
there was a couple scenarios that I was like, how do I exit this scenario? I got to figure it out. Like, you can just press victory and say you won something without the monsters going
I've
on
never
zero.
done that. But, yeah. I agree, but I do like the things this brings to the table, but sometimes I feel like they're not fully fleshed out. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this product is very specific. Like, if you like the original Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
No, I'm serious.
The people that say,
D&D
I played
second
180.
edition.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You
Right.
like those original versions, and you want to play it by yourself, or maybe with someone else, and you don't want to have a DM. Then this is for you.
Yep.
If you're a board gamer, you're someone watches Dice Tower, and you like dungeon crawls, I don't think that this will satiate you. I'm going to say straight up, it didn't make my top 10.
No.
And to me, it's just a little too creaky. I like a lot of the things it does. I like the combat system. I don't think the writing is necessarily bad. It's just boring. The idea that you start off as a pit fighter and the thing, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I've seen this so
On a
many
boat.
times. Well, am I in Skyrim here? I started as a prisoner. It's that just felt very tropey, and then the game kept being tropey. Like, where should we go? To the docks. I was like, really? The docks? Oh, there's a cave. And it's like, it just felt like,
It's a market.
yeah.
Now, as far as the character building, I do think you have a lot of different avenues you can go. You can really branch out with your character as far as building it. Weapons, obviously, it doesn't compare to an RPG like a D&D.
Yeah, just the weapon. I mean, it's set in a fairly generic world. The very first thing
They
you
are.
fight is a troll.
Right.
You're going to fight it. Again, maybe I don't want to put the game down. I'll just tell you right now, I'm giving it a 6. Okay? I don't think it's bad. I think it works. I think it's there. I think this is one where it's not necessarily for me, but there's a couple things I like. I like to kick the door down. I like to do combat, but I want the combat to be faster and more interesting, or super strategic and laid out. So Gloomhaven is super strategic in the combat. You're playing the cards, do all this stuff. Then other games are real fast, like Massive Darkness. You go and you roll some dice, boom, done.
Right.
And you go to the next one. This is somewhere in between. This again, when I was putting out the people and everything, I'm like, oh, this feels like I'm playing BattleTech or some of those games I played back in the day.
Yeah.
Whereas people moving around, and the tactical moving around the arena is not really that much going on. I say the arena because that's where the first few fights are, but it's interesting. But it feels a little creaky and old to me. But that may really appeal to you. But for me, it's a 6.
All right, I'm going a bit high. I'm coming at 7.5. Only because here's the thing, too. I like this because it is the D&D style. Will I go back to it? No, because I'm actually playing D&D every couple weeks, so that kind of tickles that itch. But for you that don't have a GM, because there's a lot of time that goes into making a story, being the DM or GM or whatever you call it. And most people don't either have time to do it, or they don't have someone that has time to do it. So this, for those people that want to get a similar feeling, I think this is really good. Now, I will say there's the negative on this is it takes you out having to switch from computer to over here, the tactical, the hex, and you're back over here, and you go back and forth. Know that going in. Because the plus side is that app does take care of a lot of that. The initiative, the moving, the fighting, all that is taken care of on that website. But it does take you back and forth. And one more thing I will say is I think this is a solo or 2-player game. I cannot imagine doing that with more than that. But if you are looking for that, because really doing a solo or two-player D&D is really next to impossible to find somebody that's going to run something like
Yeah,
that for you.
right.
So if you're looking for that, I strongly recommend this. If you want to do it yourself or with a couple or whatever, this is fun because that gives you the same feel.
I do want to say one thing. I did say a lot of the creakiness and the old-time look of the game. Whoever painted all those paintings of the different pictures, they are pretty cool.
Yeah.
They look older, but they're cool.
Right, I agree.
So I do like that. Anyway, that's
I agree.
Pericle, Gathering Darkness. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
We'll see you next time.
In the Deep.